Hey everybody, Papa Wigs here with Wigs, talking about our games for Week 7 here. So let's jump off with the game that's going to start this morning. The Patriots against the Jaguars in London. Breaking news this morning: ETN isn't isn't going to be active. He's out with a hamstring injury, so that means that Bigsby will be the starting running back, and Dearness Johnson will be backing him up for the Jaguars. So just some breaking news for any of you ETN owners. Make sure you get your lineups adjusted. So with that, let's jump into the game. I Wiggs and I both got the Jags winning this one. This one was kind of tough for me though because I'm not, this is the battles of the 1 and 5, right, Wiggs? So I just don't I don't have a lot of faith in uh, New England. I don't have a lot of faith in Jacksonville. The only reason I picked Jacksonville in this game, Wiggs, is because I think they ultimately have more talent on offense and more what I would consider playmakers. So I'm hoping that they're gonna get the ball and make some plays and be out on top. So that's kind of why I went with them. So to me, a couple guys to keep an eye on both teams. A couple sleepers for me is I think that um, uh, Dearness Johnson could be a sleeper in this one for the Jags because I'm sure that Bigsby's going to be splitting some stuff, so might want to keep an eye on him. I don't think anyone should necessarily start him, but I think that he's someone that could potentially have a role in this offense depending on how long ETN's out. And I think the sleeper on the Patriots is Drake May on this one. I think Drake May, could come out and have a decent game. Um, I still think he's gonna struggle, but he could potentially be a sleeper in this one. They're gonna have Stevenson back for this game. I think that could help, but I'm just not convinced that it's gonna be enough. So I don't think this is gonna be a crazy scoring game, Wiggs. I don't know what you think, but I'm thinking maybe 17-10 Jags.
Yeah, I'd probably say lower. I'm thinking more of like a 2014 probably here from the Jaguars. Um, I'd want to say more, but the Jaguars offense really hasn't shown like a whole lot this year a few outside of a few games there from Brian Thomas, but um, it's really hard for me to like be totally for them because I just don't think Lawrence is that great of a QB, and I think their run game might struggle a little bit today here against the Patriots D. So um, yeah, I think it'll be 2014. I don't think there's really a whole lot more to be said outside of I think whatever team gets the run game going is going to be the team that wins the game.
Yeah, I hear. No, I agree with you there, Wiggs. So next game, Lions versus the Vikings. The Vikings are at home. Obviously, y'all know that we're Vikings fans. So um, Wiggs took the Vikings. As much as it hurt me, I had to take the Lions today. Wiggs is going to give you stats about after bye weeks, which is great. I'm going off of what I've experienced in my 50 some years as a Vikings fan. As much as I'd love to be sold that this is going to be the year, the last time the Vikings went 5-0, they didn't even make the playoffs. I know this is a different team, but I'm just not convinced that um, quite yet that they're going to continue with this streak. I think this Lions offense is, you know, they're just crazy explosive. So not to say that the Vikings aren't. I also know that the Vikings, even though they're going to have some guys playing, some of them aren't going to be 100% on that defense. So I just got a feeling that the Lions running backs may have a big game here against the Vikings defense, which is going to open up the passing game. I'm not 100% sold that Aaron Jones is actually going to be fully ready for this game. They're saying that he's going to be good to go, but they're going to test him out before the game, and if he has any tweaks or anything, that he's most likely not going to be active. So It wouldn't surprise me at the last minute if we hear something about that, because that always is an indication that they're not fully convinced that he's 100%. Otherwise, they would take the designation off of him. So if they don't have him, I think that's going to be a challenge as well. Even if they do have him, I'm not convinced he's 100%. So, uh, yes, the Lions don't have Hutchinson, because he broke his leg, but I still think that they're going to be able to compensate for that on defense. I do think this is going to be a high scoring game, so I'm gonna say the Lions are going to win this one 34-31. And just a couple players to throw out there. I think for me, the Vikings need Jordan Addison or Jalen Naylor to step up. Um, in this game. They also got Hawkinson coming back, but I think he's going to be, a little. Oh wait, I think Hawkinson might be out.
No, he's out.
He's out. He's not going to be back until the Rams game. So I think they need Addison or Naylor to step up in this one, and obviously whoever's backing up Jones, I think needs to step up. And then the Lions, I think Wiggs hit it on the head. I think Williams has to have a really good game for him today, but I also think that their running backs are going to be big importance in this game. So, Wiggs, what do you think?
I think the Vikings are going to win this year. I want to go 31-27. I think Sam Darnold will lead them down on a game-winning touchdown drive here in this game. The only reason I'm saying that is because I'm backing up my prediction by stats I've seen, which have paid off all year for me. Teams that are 5-0 heading into their bye week, playing at home, coming out of it, are 9-0 in the Super Bowl era. So I kind of had to go with them, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings are the first team to lose like that. I could see this going either way. I think both these teams are relatively equal right now. I will give like the passing game a little edge there to the Lions over these last few weeks, but um, yeah, I'm backing my prediction up strictly by numbers right now. So,
And I will say, I'll give Wiggs props on this. I will say when the Vikings were 5-0 last time and they didn't make the playoffs, it was a similar situation, and they did come off the bye week, and I believe they went 6-0. Um, I'd have to double check that, but still not convinced. But anyways, that leads us into the next game. Titans versus the Bills. This is at Buffalo. We both picked the Bills in this one. The Titans' offense is just a mess. They don't have Levis. He's out. Not that that really makes a much difference, but I don't think Mason Rudolph is really going to have much of an impact on this game. I think the Bills are going to come out and take it, to the Titans. I don't think they're going to necessarily smoke them in this game because I think the Titans defense is just too good. That's just my opinion. But for some reason, Josh Allen's been having a good year. But I kind of feel like they're going to struggle in this one, but just do enough to get a win. Because of that Titans defense. I think they'll beat them by 2 scores here, but I think it's going to be like 17-7. They'll get Cook back today. Ray Davis is out, so I think Cook's got to have a decent game collectively between rushing and receiving. And if the Titans want to have any kind of chance in this game at all, they have to get their run game going against this Bill defense. The Bills aren't the greatest on the run game. Tony Pollard needs to have a huge game in this so that they can reduce the amount of possessions that the Bills get the ball if they even want to have a chance. And Mason Rudolph cannot make any mistakes. I just don't see that happening. I think he's going to end up throwing at least 1, maybe 2 interceptions in this game. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bills defense gets a score in this as well. I'm just not sold on the Titans right now. They're a total mess on offense, and I think their struggles are going to continue on the road here against the Bills.
I'm going to say 21-13 here in favor of the Bills. I think someone like James Cook will end up having a touchdown here in this game. It wouldn't surprise me. Josh Allen does what he does and runs in a touchdown. And obviously a field goal or two in there as well. But one thing I will say for the Titans, and this might be like a bold hot take here. I think Mason Rudolph is going to take the spot from Levis here. I agree with you. I think he needs to not make any turnovers here in this game because if he does, it's just going to make it so much harder on himself. But um, I think he's in a decent situation here where he's got three wide receivers around him that are more than capable. Um, and yeah, I just think he'll end up taking the spot here. It might be like the boldest take here. Um,
That's bold.
because he used to play what for the Steelers prior, and then was it the Bears before that, or
I don't know. I know he was with the Steelers, and he did start some games with the Steelers. You know, because he was. It was him and wasn't it Trubinsky? I think for the Steelers and stuff. So I think that's a bold prediction. But you know, hey, with the way this year's gone, nothing surprises me anymore. So, um, but I just think even though I think in order for that to happen, that Pollard's got to open it up. I mean, the Bills are definitely vulnerable against the run. So if Pollard has a big game, you know, that could lead into Mason having some decent yards and a good game as long as he doesn't make any mistakes.
For some reason, I just have this feeling that he's going to end up finding, like, Ridley or D Hop and having a connection with them. Like, it is so shocking to me that Levy's has struggled in an offense where he's got a ton of weapons around him. Like you probably have one of the top like cores of wide receivers, and you guys just can't figure it out. Like Ridley, D Hop, and Tyler Boyd is like a really good trio of receivers.
I know I don't disagree with you. I mean, they're older, and stuff like that. And I think it comes back to what we've talked about before. Wiggs is I just really don't think the coaching staff has done a good job to build the offense around Levy's strengths, and they're forcing him to do things that are probably out of his comfort zone, and that's resulted in their offense collapsing. And so, I thought that they would right the ship after the bye week, but maybe you're right. Maybe maybe Mason comes in and plays really well, and they surprise everybody. And if he gets a win, they could make a switch. I don't see it happening, but it could. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing you on that. Crazy things have happened this year, so yeah, anyways, yeah. So, anything else on that one, Wiggs? No. Dolphins versus the Colts. We both picked the Dolphins in this one. Yeah, it's in Indianapolis. Yeah, the Dolphins don't have Tua back, which, by the way, he's supposed to be practicing and coming back next week from the sounds of things, which is good for all you Hill and Waddle owners out there. I just think, the Colts, they're getting Richardson back this week. I think Richardson is going to struggle. He hasn't shown anything to me yet so far this year that makes me think he's going to come out and dominate this Dolphins defense, which is kind of in the middle of the pack. Yeah, the Dolphins have a backup quarterback, but I think that they're going to get the ball into Hill's and Waddle's hands today. I think Hill's going to have an impact on this game. Achani's supposed to be playing today, from my understanding as well. I believe he's going to be suiting up, but they have Mostert and Wright in the backfield. I just think the Dolphins have too many weapons, and they're going to end up winning this game. I think it'll be really close. I don't suspect it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be 17-14. The Dolphins come out with a 3-point lead. If the Colts want to have any chance, they need to get their running game going. They don't have Jonathan Taylor. So I think it's going to be hard for them to do that. And they have to get Pittman involved in the game as well. And as we all know, Richardson and Pittman are just not on the same page. So I don't see that happening in this game. So that's why I'm going with the Dolphins. So
Yeah, and I think Achan's gonna come out if he suits up and play really well. I just have a feeling he's gonna have a really good game here. As well as Wright. I hope they kind of utilize him more than Mozart because I think Wright is a really good running back, and I think he's shown over the last 2 weeks that he's capable of running the ball. He might not put up crazy numbers just yet, but I think him and Achan together could be a crazy running back duo. And then to add that on to Waddle and Tyreek once Tua comes back, I think the Dolphins' offense is going to be hard to beat here in the coming weeks.
yeah, I agree. They need Tua back for sure, but I think that they'll do just enough to get a win and keep them in contention for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think this will be like a 17-10 game. It'll be a little lower, but
yeah, and that leads us into our next game: the Seahawks and the Falcons in Atlanta. This was a tough one for me to pick, Wigs. I went back and forth. First, I had Seattle winning, then I had the Falcons, then I had Seattle. And I ultimately came back to the Falcons being at home. I think is a huge advantage for them. I have this gut feeling that Mooney's going to have a big game today, along with Kirk Cousins. I could also see Bijan having a good game. I kind of think defense is going to be out the door in this game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I can see all the offensive weapons on both sides of the teams having a decent game. One thing that I was keeping an eye on as well is the fact that Walker came up with an illness and they're not even sure if he's going to play today, which would be a huge setback for the Seahawks. If Walker plays, I think that this is definitely this is a coin toss. If Walker doesn't play, that's the other thing where I think it gives an edge to the Falcons as well. So I think this is going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be it could be, wouldn't surprise me if it's like 42-35, 42-38. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know. Both of these offenses, have had moments this year where they could do that. I think that both Geno and Kurt are going to have really good games here from a fantasy perspective, and I think the weapons around them will as well. And I just think it's going to be a shootout, and it's going to come down to whoever has the ball in the last possession of the game, and they're going to probably end up, winning it at that point. So anyways, that's my prediction here. And like I said, I think defense is out the door, and I think keys to me here, Wiggs, is I think Mooney has to have a big game on the Falcon side, and I think JSN has to have. I think Metcalf's going to have a good game, but I think JSN has to have some big plays in this game as well for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think this will be higher scoring, like you said. I think it's probably gonna be like 38-31. I just think the Falcons will have that edge because I think Bijan's a beast, but Allgeier's been coming around and playing really well these last few games. It wouldn't surprise me if they have, and I hate saying this, a more even of a split here in this game, just because they ran the ball like 18 times with Allgeier last week, and like
he's the most underrated running back I think in the league.
Yeah, and it's really surprising me because like Bijan is probably still a top like 5 guy, but when you have another running back that's able to keep up with them, you kind of have to utilize them, which for a fantasy owner of Bijan might be a little annoying sometimes, but um yeah, I just think both those running backs are gonna have good games today. Um,
I think they both should be started. Don't you agree? I do. I think Allgeier's definitely a flex start.
I mean, possible in Allgeier. Like, I'd have to see another week of him putting up points because really, he's outside of like 2 weeks this year. He's only put up like 5 or 6 points.
My bold prediction: he's start this week, and you watch. He's gonna have a good week.
But in this game, like I think you need Kyle Pitts to have a good game. I think you need Noah Fant to have a good game. I think the tight ends on both sides are going to be key. I think the running backs, especially if the Seahawks, will be key. I think Walker will play. I think he's played through an illness in the past. He might be a little limited, but at the end of the day, like it's like going to a retail job. If you're not feeling good and you want to get paid, you show up and work. Wouldn't surprise me if he played. If he's got he is what 22. I don't know, but Um, we'll kind of see how that plays on output. I think DK and JSN will have pretty solid games if he doesn't play because they're going to have to force the ball into Metcalf and JSN's hands. Wouldn't surprise me if Lockett came out and had a good game here. If they're not able to get the ball to DK and JSN, I don't know if Mooney's going to pop off like you're saying he is. I think it'll be Kyle Pitts and Drake London, um, or the running backs. I think that'll be those keys there on the Falcons. But I think it's going to be high scoring, 38-31.
All right, well, that leads us into our next game. This was another tough game, the Texans versus the Packers. I went with the Packers because I think their defense is a little bit stronger than the Texans. I think that they're hard to beat at Lambeau as well. They're in the best division in the league as far as I'm concerned in the NFC North right now. So I think they're going to find a way to do just enough to hold off, CJ Stroud and that tough Texans offense. I think it also hurts the Texans given the fact that Collins is out as well. Had Collins been in this game, I think it would have made a difference. But I think it's going to be it's going to give the edge to the Packers here. I can see Josh Jacobs having a really good game here. I think that Wiggs hit it on the heads. That Dobbs could have a a good game here as well. To me, I think the guy to watch in this one for the Packers is Tyler Kraft. I think Kraft could come out, or Tucker Kraft, I'm sorry, could come out and have a good game here against the Texans defense, which is going to open it up for all those wide receivers. And who knows with Christian Watson, he could have a good game as well. It's just hard to know which guy, Love's going to go to. And then on the flip side, I think C.J. Stroud, he's got to get Tank Dell involved in this. Obviously, he's going to be looking Diggs' way, but he's got to get Tank Dell involved in this. He's going to need Mixon and Pierce both to have a good game in the backfield, rushing the ball and be part of the passing game as well. I just think that this Green Bay defense is going to be a little bit tougher on the Texans, and the Texans defense will be on Green Bay. So I think this is another game, though, that could be relatively high scoring. I'm going to go 30-24 Green Bay.
I'm going 34-31 here in this game. I think it's going to be one of those high scoring games. I think Tank Dell is going to have a great game here today. Wouldn't surprise me if Stephon Diggs, gets away with a touchdown or two in this game on like limited receptions, like probably like 4 or 5 for like 40 yards. I think he's going to be locked down by Alexander pretty well here in this game. I just think Jordan Love's going to take advantage of the fact that Nico Collins is not out there and playing. I still think the Texans are going to put up a lot of points. I know their offense hasn't looked unbelievable lately, but I could totally see them just having like a crazy week. I know they put up a lot of points against the Patriots last week, but that's the Patriots. So I think this Green Bay defense is going to keep Diggs more in check. I think not having Collins on the field kind of takes away from Diggs. But I think they have enough people in that offense to make up for it. And Joe Mixon, I think he's going to end up having like 140 combined yards here and a touchdown or two. Wouldn't surprise me if Dameon Pierce popped off for one as well. So, yeah, I think 34-31 is a pretty solid score line here in this game.
Well, and that leads us into the next game, Bengals versus the Browns. Listen, I think the Browns have actually, I don't know if they've kind of checked out and said, hey, listen, we've just accepted the fact we're not going to do anything this year. Or maybe they've got this crazy idea with the offense where they think with Nick Chubb coming back, they're just going to run the ball and get some wins and cut down possessions. I don't know what they were thinking. I get it. They traded away Cooper to get picks and stuff. So I totally understand, their thinking behind that. But I also think now, you've got Judy as your number one receiver. You really don't have any other receivers that have stepped up and done anything for this Browns offense. Yeah, you got Njoku that's back. I think that they're really hoping that Nick Chubb's going to come back and pick up where he left off. I'm not convinced that that's going to be the case. Because he's gonna have to shake off the rust, so to speak. I think that they're hitting the Bengals at the wrong time too. Their Bengals offense is starting to really get into a rhythm. With Chase and Higgins and Burrow. I think Chase Brown is going to be a big factor in this game. So I think this is going to be like a 24-21 game where the Bengals pull out a win on the road. I think the key here is that I think Chase Brown has an opportunity to have a really good game here, which is going to open up everything else for the Bengals offense. And I think for the Browns to be able to even pull off an upset to me here, they need Deshaun Watson to start playing a lot better. I just don't see it happening, even against this Bengals defense that hasn't been good at times, because I just don't think, that he's showing anything that he's going to turn the corner. So, and even with Chubb back in, I don't think Chubb's going to be in game shape just quite yet. He's going to be shaking off the rust. So I think the Bengals are hitting them at a good time. And I think their offense is a mess. And until I see what they're going to do, I can't pick them to beat this Bengals team.
At the end of the day, if Deshaun Watson doesn't have a good game, the Browns aren't going to win. That's all I can really say. You can only rely on Chubb so much. Don't get me wrong, I think Chubb's going to have a pretty solid game here. I think he's going to go for like 80 yards and probably a touchdown. I mean, it's Nick Chubb. Dude came off an injury a few years back and was a beast. I think he'll be perfectly fine. I think he'll be a beast today. But if you can't get that passing game going from Deshaun Watson, then you're not going to have a week that you have a chance of winning. Jerry Jeudy's the number one. You have Elijah Moore as your wide receiver 2, and then Cedric Tillman after that. So you're kind of going to have to figure out what you're going to do on this offense. Njoku's going to have to be big. You're going to obviously have to get the ball to Jerry Jeudy. We'll kind of see how that pans out. We've seen it in the past with the same situation. They only have one wide receiver 1, and then Elijah Moore and Tillman were the 2 and 3 last year. So it's possible, but you need big games from Chubb, and then you need Deshaun Watson to get his head out of his butt and start playing some freaking football, because there's no excuse for how bad he's playing after seeing someone like Joe Flacco, who didn't start in so long, completely tear it up on your offense last year. And not a whole lot's really changed on this offense. So it's time to figure it out, because you're making yourself look really bad. Maybe he just doesn't care because he's guaranteed all this flipping money, and at the end of the day, the record's not going to reflect how he gets paid. So I don't know. He just does not seem engaged in anything right now, and it doesn't look like he even cares out on the field. Because I mean, even on drives where they're supposed to be going for it on 4th down, he's just walking off the field and they don't go for it. So.
Well, that video was actually kind of tainted, and I know what you're talking about, referencing in the one game, but they had too many guys on the field, and they kind of cleared that up. But I don't disagree with you, though. I think that his heart's not in it right now. But I also think that the Bengals could jump off to a big lead here, and if they do that, I think it's going to kind of take away the Chubb effect if you're playing from behind. So we'll see. That leads us into the Eagles versus the Giants. Wiggs, I'm starting to jump on the Giants bandwagon here. I really am. If this was not a division game, I might look at it a little differently, but it is a division game. I'm not, I love AJ Brown, and I think Smith is a good compliment and stuff. But the Giants defense has been playing really well this year, even when they've had injuries. They're at home. They're getting Neighbors back this week. Tracy's been, showed why he should be a big weapon in this offense. I just got this gut feeling that the Giants are going to pull off an upset here and beat the Eagles at home. That's why I went with them. All in my gut. I could be totally wrong. I was wrong the last couple weeks with the Giants. They could disappoint me again, but I'm starting to see them potentially turning it around here, and I just think that their defense is gonna. I think I got this gut feeling their defense is going to come out and I don't know that they're going to necessarily be able to contain AJ Brown, but I think they're going to do enough to keep the Giants offense in this game. I'm not sold on the Eagles defense being able to shut down Neighbors or even that run game of Tracy and Singletary. So to me, I'm giving I'm going with my gut here, and I'm giving this one to the Giants at home. I think it's going to be 20-17. They're going to win it on a kick right at the end of the game before it would go into overtime and pull out the upset.
Yeah, I think you're crazy for this one. I'll be completely honest. With AJ Brown and Smith coming back, I just think this offense is going to make up for whatever their defense doesn't do. You still got Saquon there running the ball as well. I personally think their 1-2 punch at wide receiver is better than the Giants right now, and I really only give the edge to Smith over Wandale because I think Neighbors and AJ Brown are probably relatively the same when it comes to comparing the two. But I don't know. I feel like the Eagles will pull off the win here. I just think early on in the season, we're still figuring things out for the Giants. I also am not sold on Neighbors coming out and having the biggest of games this week, just due to him coming off the injury, and I don't know how well rookies usually do after that, but we'll get a true test here today. He's up against a divisional rival. I think this game will end up being like 20-10, 20-13 maybe here in favor of the Eagles.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going with my gut though. That's my hot take of the week: the Giants over the Eagles. That leads us into our next game, the Raiders versus the Rams. Listen, Kupp is going to be out again this game, so he's not going to be in there. Usually that might have an impact on my decision, but it doesn't. I think the Raiders are a mess. I'm not convinced that they're going to come out and play really well here. They traded away Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers isn't going to be playing again today. He's doubtful. They may not have Zamir White, which I don't know that makes any much of a difference because he hasn't really had that great of a season. But in the end, I think this is all going to come down to Kyren. I think Kyren's going to have a big game. I think Matthew Stafford's going to find his receivers and tight ends enough to keep LA ahead of the Raiders here. And as much as I love Max Crosby and stuff, their defense has kind of been disappointing this year. Maybe they come out and they surprise and they play a lot better today. I just don't see it happening. I think there's a lot of internal stuff going on with the Raiders as well. I keep seeing things about Crosby and the way he's been acting. I know he got kicked out of one of their practices this week. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on here that people don't know about. Ultimately, I think that that's going to be a factor in this team just not playing well again and the Rams taking advantage of it. I think this is going to be, a 2010 type game with the Rams coming out on top.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 24-13 game here for the Rams. That Raiders offense kind of just blows. I only give them 13 points because I'm hoping Zamir White has a good game if he plays, and hits the red zone this week. But yeah, I mean, I think the Rams clearly have the advantage here in this game. I know the Raiders are 2-4 and the Rams are 1-5, but you still have Kyren and you got capable wide receivers there. At depth there in LA, so I just got to give the edge to them. I think Kyren's going to have a big game. It wouldn't surprise me if Stafford actually had a pretty good game here this week because, like you said, the Raiders' defense hasn't looked good. So I could see Stafford having a good game with someone like Whittington or his tight end and Parkinson.
I think he's going to spread the ball.
Yeah, and
so
then whatever
I don't think anybody's going to. I don't think any of his receivers are necessarily going to stand out. I think it's going to be a collective kind of thing.
I think someone like Parkinson will because I think he might look his way quite a bit in the red zone, and I think Stafford.
Well, he's the tight end though, but yeah.
I think at the end of the day, Stafford's going to throw like 3 touchdowns here in this game. So, like, it'll be spread around amongst the receivers. Like, we've had, like, Whittington, like, have spurts this year, but outside of that, like, we haven't, like, seen consistent play from the wide receivers. I mean, heck, Tyler Johnson had a really good week 1. decent week 2, and then he just fell off, and he's hardly on the field again. So I don't know.
Nope, I hear you. So that leads us into the next game, the Panthers versus the Commanders. Listen, Washington's at home against the Panthers. I think Jaden Daniels has shown to me why he's the number one rookie quarterback this year so far, in my opinion. Um, I think him and McLaurin are getting that chemistry at the right time. Brian Robinson, I think, is supposed to be playing, today. Sounds like he's going to be playing. Eckler is going to be playing. So I just think that they're going to be too much for the Panthers at home. The Panthers defense hasn't shown me that they're going to turn anything around anytime soon. And I think Daniels and McLaurin both are going to have big games here. And Washington's defense is, probably going to hold the Panthers offense in check. So I'm not too worried there. Again, this is, to me, 23-10 type game. Washington with the win at home.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels. That's really all I have to say. The dude's going to tear it up on the Panthers defense today. I could see someone like Chuba Hubbard on the Panthers having a big game because the Washington defense against the run game struggles. But aside from that, maybe a touchdown on like 40 yards or 50 yards from Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's like the number 3 targeted receiver right now in the league, so it wouldn't surprise me if he had a big game.
That leads us into the next game. My other hot take. I really do think that this could be the week where both of the undefeated teams fall. I know everybody might think I'm crazy, faded, but listen, I'm willing to put myself out there and call it like I see it. I think that this Chiefs San Francisco game is going to be it'll be a good game, and it's the rematch of the Super Bowl last year. I really feel like that's going to be the extra kick in the butt that the 49ers are going to need today. Yeah, the Chiefs defense has been playing really well. Yeah, I don't think that the running game is going to have that much of a factor in this one for the 49ers. But I do think that Debo could have a big impact in this one coming out of the backfield or getting the ball in his hand to get rushing yards. So I think that's going to be a big factor. To me, the one guy that I think has to have a big game here for the 49ers is Ayuk. I think that he needs to come out and earn that contract that he just got against the Chiefs. And I just got a feeling that he's going to have a big game here, and Brock Purdy's going to find him along with Debo. I don't necessarily think Jordan Mason's going to have a great game here, but I think their running game is going to do enough to allow their passing game to be successful against the Chiefs here. And I'm hoping that the 49ers defense comes out and shows why they've been one of the top defenses the last several years here. I know it's a tough matchup against KC, but KC's also down a lot of weapons. I know that they brought in other guys that have stepped up a little bit, and Juju and Kareem Hunt and stuff like that. But I just got a feeling like Bozo and team are gonna just raise havoc with Mahomes and force Mahomes to make some mistakes in this game, which ultimately leads to some points off of turnovers. I think the 49ers are going to win this one. It's going to be 24-21.
I think the Chiefs are going to win this here 27 to probably 20 here. Even with them lacking weapons, I mean, they got the best weapon of them all, the refs. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a few bad calls here in this game. It's happened all year. Not having Juan Jennings on the side of the 49ers is a big hit. I know we're going to be seeing Ricky Pearsall playing this week. I don't know if he'll step up and fill that role. And then the running backs, I don't know if they're leaning more towards a split, like full on. I just don't know if they'll be as impactful as they have been already this year. And I think the Chiefs are just going to come out and win this game. I think Kareem Hunt's going to have a big game here, which I can't believe I'm saying against the 49ers defense, but I just have a gut feeling he's going to have a big game.
We'll see. Our next game here, the Jets at the Steelers. This was a tough one for me to pick. I really wanted to pick the Steelers, but in the end, I think that Mike Tomlin's making a huge mistake. This is just my opinion. I don't see why they're switching quarterbacks here. It makes absolutely no sense. You're 4-2. Yeah, Justin Fields at times has not looked good, but he's led your team to a 4-2 record. Um, I think Justin Fields showed a lot of class in his interviews that I've seen this week. Saying that he didn't do enough to keep the job. But listen, at the end of the day, when you're the starting quarterback, it comes down to wins and losses, and you've led this team to a 4-2 record, which to me entitles him to start another game. And I think that ultimately Tomlin is making a mistake. They're saying both of these QBs could be playing in this game, which I don't get. Um, I just think that it's going to be a big mistake, and the Jets are going to jump on it. I also think that that Davante Adams, even though he's only been there a week, less than a week with the Jets, I think that he could still have a big impact on this game along with Garrett Wilson. I still can't. I don't know, Wiggs. Did you see all those talks about people reaching out to the Jets about trading Garrett Wilson? Why would they trade their future? You know what I'm saying? I just don't get it. The Jets would be dumb to do that. They also ended the holdout with Reddick. He's not going to probably be playing. He's not going to be playing today, but he did sign his contract, which is going to be a huge lift for the Jets defense when he does come back. That's not going to impact this game, but I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers is going to find Davante Adams. Even though the Steelers defense is tough, I think that they're going to come out on top. I don't think it's going to be crazy scoring. I think it's going to be 20-14 with the Jets. I just couldn't pick the Steelers in this one because I really just have this feeling Russell Wilson's going to come out and he's going to look bad, and Tomlin's going to ultimately kick himself for doing that.
Well, I'll keep this one short. If it's not broken, don't fix it. You just lost yourself the game.
Okay. Nothing else?
Nope.
All right. I love you, Wiggs. Then we got 2 Monday night games, right, Wiggs? We got the Ravens here against the Bucks. This, to me, I think is going to be this will be a good game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I like the Bucks offense. I like what Baker Mayfield's been doing. Ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the fact that the Ravens defense is going to make a couple big plays. I think the Bucks are going to be out with a couple defensive players that are going to be crucial to them being able to stop the run, which they won't be able to do. I think Derrick Henry and Lamar are going to have big games rushing the ball here. And then I think I think Mark Andrews has the opportunity to have a big game in this one as well. On the flip side, I think even with as explosive as the Buccaneers have been, I think Baker's going to make a mistake here, throw an INT at a crucial time. That's going to allow the Ravens to pull out a road win. But I do think that this is going to be a little bit higher scoring, so I'm going to say 31-28 Ravens.
Yeah, I agree with the score line there. I think it'll be higher scoring. I might go like a 31-24 there from the Ravens. I just think Derrick Henry's going to have a really good game. I said it yesterday. I think Mark Andrews is going to have a big game. And I think Zay Flowers might be kind of irrelevant in this game personally, but Lamar will make up for it. It's one of those games where a lot of points are going to be scored. You kind of have to expect Henry and Lamar to put up a lot of points. On the other side, I'm expecting someone like Chris Godwin to have another big game here this week. Wouldn't surprise me if Cade Otton had a big week as well. He's kind of hit or miss, but I wouldn't doubt it if we saw like 6 receptions on a touchdown or 2 from Cade Otton here against the Baltimore defense. We'll kind of wait and see. I think it'll be like a 31-24.
Yeah, this Ravens offense is starting to become really scary. If Derrick Henry continues the way he's going, they're going to be. I mean, and Zay Flowers has looked good, this year. And if Mark Andrews and Lamar start connecting like they have in the past, I don't know. This Ravens offense is scary, and if their defense continues to improve, I would not want to face this team in the playoffs for sure. Because I definitely think that they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to be a tough team to stop this year. now that they have King Henry on their side. So, and that leads us into the last game of the week: the Chargers versus the Cardinals. Um, listen, I thought the Cardinals would be doing a little bit better here. I'm a little disappointed in, um, how they've been playing. I think the Chargers have been, their defense has been a surprise this year. I think they've turned it around. Their offense is playing, I think, a lot better than people expected them to do this year. Even though they're on the road against a tough Cardinals defense, I think Jim Harbaugh and team are going to find a way to pull out the win here. I can definitely see J.K. Dobbins having a really big game here. I know that the Cardinals defense is tough, but the Chargers keep feeding him the ball and he keeps producing. And so I just don't think that's gonna change here. I think for the Cardinals to have any shot at all at winning this game, they need to make sure they get not only McBride and Harrison involved in this game, but they need to get that running game going. And I don't know if that means they need to start giving the ball to Benson a little bit more. But if Connor can't get it going and they can't get their running game going against the Chargers here, they're not even going to have a shot. I don't think it'll be high scoring, because of that Chargers defense and the Cardinals defense. But I do think the Chargers win by 2 scores. I'm saying 17-7. Chargers come out on top.
I think the Chargers are going to win this year 24-13. I think we're going to see someone like J.K. Dobbins break off for a big chunk of yardage, whether it's a touchdown or not, I don't know. I think he's just going to have a really long game here. Cardinals defense really isn't too impressive, so I really just don't have a lot of hopes for them. I think they're going to I think the Chargers are just going to run the ball down their throat here in this game. The Chargers are dealing with a lot of injuries still in that wide receiving core. I think almost all their wide receivers right now, including McConkey, are all questionable. So whoever is healthy is probably going to have a bigger game. It wouldn't surprise me if Brendan Rice is activated here for this week and utilized a little bit in that passing game, but I think they're going to have to run the ball a lot here. So I'd expect Dobbins to have a pretty good game. It wouldn't surprise me if Vital had a good game as well in that receiving game. And like you said, this Cardinals offense has just looked sad. Like, I don't know what else to say besides that. You draft the, top wide receiver in the draft and not really utilizing him all that much outside of like 2 weeks, and you can't get your run game going these last few weeks. Something needs to change, and you guys need to figure it out. And a little side note, I believe this is an ESPN Plus exclusive game or something like
that. Excellent. Just a couple quick things before we wrap it up here. Wiggs, give me a bold prediction. What player do you think is going to do a lot better than people think he will this week in this week's games?
Dart out there and say, you know what, screw it. Zamir White, I think he's going to have a good game if he plays.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with Algier from the Falcons. I think that, I don't know that he'll have a bigger game than Bijan, but I think him and Bijan are going to be really close, and I think he's going to be someone that's going to finish higher this week than people may suspect. On the flip side, Wiggs, who do you think is going to be a big disappointment that people are going to be depending on, but is going to throw up a big goose egg for him?
Zay Flowers. Not that I dislike the guy. I actually really like him. I think he's just going to throw up like 4.8 points or something like that.
Yeah, for me, I think the disappointing guy this week is going to be I think I'm going to go with Stefon Diggs. I think Stefon Diggs isn't going to have a big game this week. As much as I think he's a great receiver, I think the Packers are going to find a way to take him out of this game, and he's not going to have a big game. So, so that's my prediction there. So, all right. Anything else you want to add, Wiggs? All right. Well, I think we're good here. Check us out, Fantasy Fools PPR YouTube. We're also out on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. Like, share, subscribe. Feedback's welcome. If you got any lineup questions, feel free to reach out to us. We hope you guys are finding this as beneficial, week to week. and we're always